The rain poured down in thick sheets as Mark pulled into the parking lot of the Hollow Pines Motel. The neon sign flickered, casting an eerie glow on the cracked asphalt. He killed the engine, grabbed his suitcase, and ran through the rain to the lobby. The receptionist, an elderly man with sunken eyes, greeted him with a hollow smile. "Room for one?" Mark asked, brushing rainwater from his jacket. The receptionist hesitated. "Only one room left," he said, sliding a tarnished key across the counter. "Room 306, top floor." Mark sensed unease in the man's voice but ignored it. "Thanks," he muttered, taking the key and heading upstairs. The hallway was dimly lit, the wallpaper peeling at the edges. The number 306 hung crookedly on the door. Mark unlocked it, pushed it open, and stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of mildew and cleaning chemicals. He set his suitcase on the bed and noticed an old, faded Bible on the nightstand. Thunder rumbled outside as he turned on the TV for background noise. Flickering images danced across the screen before it abruptly shut off. Mark frowned and grabbed the remote, but the power button wouldn't respond. Then he heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from the vent above the bed. "Rats," he muttered, turning up the volume on his phone to drown it out. But the sound grew louder, like nails scraping metal. He stood on the bed, lifted the vent cover, and peered inside. Nothing. Yet the scratching persisted. Uneasy, Mark locked the door and crawled into bed. He pulled the covers tight and tried to fall asleep. But at 3:06 a.m., a loud bang jolted him awake. The door handle rattled violently. Someone, or something, was trying to get in. Mark jumped out of bed and grabbed his phone, but there was no signal. The banging stopped, replaced by whispers coming from the vent. Heart pounding, he pressed his ear to it and heard voices pleading, "Help us, Puam. Please, he won't let us leave." Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the whispers turned into agonized screams. Mark stumbled back as shadows seeped out of the vent, swirling like smoke and taking the shape of clawed hands. He scrambled to the door, but it wouldn't budge. The shadows lunged. Mark screamed as darkness engulfed him. The next morning, the receptionist climbed the stairs to check on the guest. Room 306's door stood ajar. He entered and found the bed neatly made, Mark's suitcase still on the floor. The room was eerily silent except for the faint scratching sound from the vent. He sighed, walked over, and replaced the crooked number on the door. "Another one," he muttered, locking the door behind him. Room 306, always. It was well past midnight when Jake and his friends, Emma and Ryan, drove down a desolate stretch of highway. The party they had left behind still rang in their heads, but the eerie silence outside the car felt unnerving. The road stretched endlessly, flanked by dense woods on both sides. Emma sat in the back seat scrolling through her phone. "I swear, this road feels haunted," she said, half joking. Ryan, who was driving, laughed. "Relax, it's just an old highway." Then they saw her, a lone figure standing by the roadside, illuminated by the car's headlights. She was a young woman, drenched from head to toe, wearing a pale dress that clung to her frame. Her long, dark hair obscured her face. "Should we stop?" Jake asked, leaning forward. "We can't just leave her here," Emma said. Ryan hesitated, but eventually slowed down and pulled over. The girl approached the car cautiously. "Are you okay?" Emma asked, rolling down the window. The girl nodded. "I need a ride. Home," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. They opened the door. and she climbed into the back seat beside Emma. She gave them an address a few miles down the road. As the car began moving again, the girl remained silent, staring out the window. "What's your name?" Emma asked. "Lily," the girl replied, her voice distant. They drove in uneasy silence until they reached an old, decrepit house surrounded by overgrown weeds. Lily pointed toward it. "This is my home," she said. Emma got out to help her, but as she turned, the back seat was empty. Lily had vanished. "Where did she go?" Emma's voice trembled. They walked to the house and knocked on the door. An elderly woman answered, her eyes filled with sorrow. "We just dropped off a girl named Lily," Emma explained. "She said she lived here." The woman's face turned pale. "Lily was my daughter," she said. "She died in a car accident on this road 10 years ago." The group froze. "But we just saw her," Jake insisted. The woman shook her head and pointed to a framed photo on the wall. It was Lily, wearing the same pale dress. Terrified, they ran back to the car and drove away. As they passed the spot where they had first seen Lily, Emma noticed something in the back seat. A wet scarf folded neatly, stained with dirt and dried blood. To this day, Jake, Emma, and Ryan refused to talk about that night. But travelers on that highway still report seeing a lone, drenched girl by the roadside, waiting for someone to take her home.
Thank you for watching Mysterious Vibe. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more unsettling, true scary stories. Sleep tight if you can.